The idea of extraterrestrial life has intrigued humanity for a long time. However, if you remember, from the early 40s to the mid 70s, there was a trend of conspiracies about aliens, Men in Black, Area 51, stuff like that. And most people end up getting attracted to that sort of stuff when they're younger. But at one point, they'll usually grow out of it and laugh about how stupid they were. I myself was very interested in this stuff. However, when I started getting into politics and started looking into that more deeply, I begun to notice some trends that overlapped between the two. And all of a sudden, some holes on one side started being filled with information from the other side. Let me explain. Conspiracies about potential extraterrestrial life did not start gaining a presence until the immediate aftermath of World War II, most particularly after July 1947, when a mysterious object crashed in Roswell, New Mexico. It was reported as an unidentified flying disc. However, almost immediately, the government stepped in to clear the air. They claimed the object was an Air Force weather balloon, and the debris was taken to be disposed of. While on the surface, you might say, that's pretty much a done deal. Many people, to this very day, still suspect that there was something the government wasn't telling them, and there were whispers of aliens landing and Men in Black whisking away the evidence before anyone was able to do anything with it. And anybody who started looking into this would go away. This kind of talk only expanded in the 50s with the beginnings of talks of Area 51, a supposed Air Force base that many people continue to believe may have actually been where alien research was being conducted. All this talk of aliens even started influencing the media, with movies like Invasion of the Body Snatchers becoming hits in the era, while many of us nowadays would just consider it to be some conspiratorial nonsense that really had no basis. I started to view it as something like religion/mythology. What do I mean by that? Well, why don't I tell you a little bit about what was actually going on in the time period. The year of the Roswell incident, 1947, also happened to be the year when a certain conflict, known as the Cold War, began. Tensions between the US and the USSR were extremely high. The idea of the two nations going to fully armed conflict was seen as almost a guarantee. So both nations decided to try and prevent that from happening by exerting enough geopolitical power to scare each other into submission. And one of the primary ways they did this was by handing immense power to their intelligence agencies, most prominently the KGB in the Soviet Union, and of course, the CIA and NSA here in the States. They were tasked with essentially saving the ideal image of their nations by any means necessary. And I truly do mean any means necessary. As such, they started using that newfound power that they had to do anything and everything they could get away with. The CIA in particular doing a lot of shady things with that newfound power beginning in the 50s. Let's do some analysis to show some of the newfound assignments our beloved intelligence agencies were tasked with doing at the time. The one you may be the most familiar with is COINTELPRO, where the government kept tabs on many supposedly subversive groups that were labeled as communist dissidents. Project Minaret, which collected all of the telegraphic data in the United States, focusing on people of interest, usually forming a Venn diagram with COINTELPRO targets. Operation Mockingbird, a program where the CIA attempted to manipulate the media to become propaganda arms for the CIA. And lastly, the one that sounds the most sci-fi of them all, MK Ultra, a CIA operation where they were given the right to conduct illegal experimentation on ways to mind control and brainwash people, most commonly via drugging them with LSD. These programs were all very real and very serious, and if you'll indulge me, very coincidental on a lot of fronts. First, we will go back to the 50s to discuss Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Believe it or not, the film actually has a hidden message within it. However, the message actually changed over the course of its production. Originally, the movie was supposed to be a critique of McCarthyism. However, studio heads changed the film's messaging to be that of McCarthyism. Be wary of your neighbors because they could be subversives trying to hurt us. Coincidentally, around the time Operation Mockingbird was a thing, another thing that was chalked up as a coincidence was the situation surrounding CIA agent Frank Olson. On November 23rd, Olson was on retreat where he was subject to MKUltra testing. The test had changed his personality drastically, and he reportedly attempted to resign from the agency. He was later found dead on the 28th. It was originally ruled as a suicide after a mental breakdown. However, after leaks in the 70s, his family reconsidered and decided to get his body exhumed for an autopsy, which later proved that he had head and chest trauma prior to falling. And if you believe these incidents were isolated to CIA testing within themselves, you greatly misunderstand the CIA, as I should introduce you to a subsection of MKUltra, Operation Midnight Climax, where the CIA opened up safe houses in random urban areas and hired prostitutes to lure men into said houses where they would conduct their methods of mind control on them. Of course, taking notes, Project MKUltra has also been tied to an incident that happened in France in the 50s. During the 50s, a town in France experienced mass hysteria, originally blamed on a bunch of rotten bread. However, later reports confirm that it was actually one round of testing for MKUltra. The fact that we have this information should give you an indication that the information didn't stay private forever, as much of this information was leaked during the 1970s, which led to massive outrage against the CIA. Senator Frank Church holding congressional hearings exposing all the information that we had, and former CIA Deputy Director Victor Marchetti publishing an expose called The CIA and Cult of Intelligence, the first book that the US government actively went to court to prevent its publication. And around this time, the UFOs started re-entering public discourse again. And I will close the video out by showing the two theories as to why. Either are very much plausible, and that's up to you to decide. The first is that this sort of happened somewhat naturally, like citizens saw the US government being shady in regards to one of the projects that I mentioned, and they just filled in the gaps where information was lacking. A man acting really weird after disappearing for a week to be whisked away by some men in black? He must have been abducted by aliens, and the government is trying to take him away to experiment. The other is one that you might have heard before, the idea that perhaps the government is the one who instigated the rumors. They introduce a theory so outlandish that anything that is in that realm, but not as crazy, can just be brushed off under the label of Crazy Town, because let's be real, if the information wasn't out there that MKUltra was real, would you believe it? Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when the future video mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, check out my articles on the Independent Political Report, or consider supporting me on Patreon.